What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the RTB Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Miller. Hope you're doing well whenever you are listening to this one. NASCAR race weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway wrapped up. We had a NASCAR Truck Series, NASCAR Rally Series, and the NASCAR Cup Series. A full weekend of racing for all those fans in Bristol. And the biggest storyline to come out of it was none other than our race winner of the NASCAR Cup Series race. Ty Gibbs wins the Food City 500, his first NASCAR Cup Series victory of his career. It took him 131 races to finally do it, but he did it. He held off one of the best in the sport, Ryan Blaney, on an overtime restart with 2 to go. Gibbs was on older tires. Blaney was on newer tires. There was a restart before that with 15 to go where Blaney had to make some passes from 7th to get up there and challenge Gibbs there, and he made a great challenge to Gibbs. Got loose with around like 4 to go. It looked like Gibbs was going to win the race and finish it off on older tires, but we had a caution with 4 to go, which then led an overtime restart. Blaney was on the bottom, Gibbs up top, and it was a side-by-side battle. Gibbs was staying up top. He would get the momentum in the exit. Blaney would great momentum entering the corner. And then coming to the final turn, turn 4, Gibbs has the momentum on the outside. Blaney drives it in hard, exiting turn 4, gets sideways. And Ty Gibbs wins the race by half a car over Ryan Blaney. What a drive. Gibbs executed those restarts, didn't make mistakes, did his job on older tires, gets the win. The emotion that Ty Gibbs showed, his mom was emotional. Joe Gibbs just saw his grandson get his first career Cup Series win. His mom drove in the passenger side of the car. They went to victory lane together. It was just a cool, amazing moment to get to experience someone's first career win, and especially experience Ty Gibbs' first career win, knowing the stuff that Ty Gibbs has gone through in his life. Lost his dad in 2022, the night that he won the championship. His dad didn't wake up the next morning. His dad passed away. That was a big thing. I don't know, how you could experience something more terrible for Ty Gibbs, losing your father. But then there was a lot of spotlight and pressure put on Ty Gibbs. He was now the grandson of Joe Gibbs. Now there's this pressure that you got to perform. If not, that people are going to speculate that you're only in that ride because of your last name. And there was a lot of mistakes he made, a lot of stuff in the media. He very much raged or got angry on the radio a lot. There was a lot of not so good looks for Ty Gibbs. Even last year when Chris Gabehart chose to be a crew chief, he talked back to Chris Gabehart at Walton Split over strategy, and that was a bad look. There's reports out now, by Chris Gabehart saying that, Ty Gibbs isn't held to the same standard. He doesn't have to go to certain meetings that other drivers are going to there at Joe Gibbs Racing. A lot of stuff. Gibbs came out and said that people say false things, so he's denying what Chris Gabehart is saying. Whether or not that's true, we'll find out in the future. And this is a really beautiful thing to see. Sports are very beautiful. They create beautiful moments, and this moment is incredible. But Gibbs, I felt like, has been a lot more composed, a lot more chill, and he's just out there driving, and he's putting incredible finishes. I think now he's like 4th in the points. He had a couple good stretches there of top 5s. He's just done a really great job, and he's not in the news. Of course, he's in the news, but not because of things he's doing. It's some of the stuff that people are saying about him, like Chris Gabehart. But, their team, Joe Gibbs Racing's in a lawsuit with Chris Gabehart over stuff that Chris Gabehart might have stole of, data, confidential data, setup data, sponsorship data, a lot of different data. That's an ongoing lawsuit. That's where some of the stuff about Ty Gibbs has come out. So yeah, when there's all this noise about Ty Gibbs, it's not affecting him. And now, they always say when you get your first win, it takes a little bit of weight off your shoulders and allows you then to propel you into now maybe getting more wins quicker and sooner. We'll see, man. Congrats to Ty Gibbs, though. What a win. Really, really cool moment. But again, the finish of this race, guys, with Ryan Blaney was awesome. It was a great battle. Blaney was the best car. It took him a while to get up there. Yes, his pit crew really hurt him. I mean, there was a couple of pit stops there where he would lose spots, and he was the fastest car. Now, those final couple of restarts, Blaney, the first restart with 15 to go, I think around lap 5, he was right there with Gibbs, right side by side, newer tires, but then I think he's saying a bad turn 3 and 4, killed the momentum, and he kind of washed up, and then turn 1 and 2 around 4 to go, or 5 to go it was, and then Gibbs was able to get out there to a 3-car lead. I thought it was probably then that's enough. But we had that caution that then led to an overtime restart. And then Blaney just said in his post-race interview he had to stay on the bottom because Gibbs is up top. There was a lot of clumps of rubber built up, so he couldn't drive or execute as well in the bottom as he needed to. Even though he was really good there, he had a chance. The car just wasn't as gripped up down there as the top was, and that's kind of how we saw this race go. Stage 1, it was the bottom. You run the bottom. There's PJ1 down there. Everyone was down there, and then there was a couple of cars that migrated up top. But then stage 2, it became more of a top dominant thing. There were still a lot of cars in the bottom. It was a mixed bag. But then stage 3, it felt like, unless your car was really good, on the bottom you could make passes, but everyone was up there towards the top. I think because there was a lot of rubber built up there on the bottom. That's why, probably, as we learned with what Ryan Blaney said. But boy, man, I was worried after stage 1 how this race was going to go. I thought it was going to be a low tire wearing type of thing and not a lot of passing, track position, but it did not turn into that. But yeah, Kyle Larson won stage 1 on lap 44 of the race. The 5 passed 12 through Ryan Blaney, who won the pole through lap traffic, and that was the deciding factor of stage 1. We saw the 6 car get spun by the 47. Then we saw some intriguing strategy there with the 9 and the 21 that stayed out there in stage 1. They only ran, and that was around only 60 laps on their tires from that caution. And they actually, I believe the 21 ended up finishing top 5 in stage 1, and then the 12, I believe, finished outside the top 10 in stage 1 there when he restart, second and first they did. But it was a unique strategy. Kyle Larson led 75 laps in stage 1, and Blaney led 44 laps. And then stage 2, I believe Christopher Bell finished, third in stage 1. And he had a speeding penalty in stage 2. And that's where we saw in lap 145, the 20 spun out, hit the wall. And that is what then sent the entire bad day for 21. He went way downhill because I think he ended up having more issues, hit the wall again. I thought he could have been the guy maybe challenging. Maybe he was as fast as the 5 or the 12, but hitting that wall ended his days of having a chance to compete for the win. And then we saw a big crash on lap 160. The 97 spun in between turns 3 and 4. He washed up and he collected the 48, the 34, and the 42. The 48's day was over with that contact. Broke a bunch of toe links. Felt terrible for Alex Bowman, that 48. Came back from vertigo. He wasn't running too great at the time, but they were hoping that they made some changes. They were going to get that car better, but never got to see the day fully play out. Really sad. Bowman's had just already bad luck. He wasn't running that good before vertigo. Had a lot of bad luck. And now gets wrecked in his race that he returns, man. Feels terrible for him. The 97 was able to continue, but was pretty much limping around there the rest of the day. And then Kyle Larson won stage 2. I believe he led all of stage 2 there. Blaney, I think, only led 1 lap. Yeah, Larson led 124 laps in stage 2, and Blaney led 1 lap. And then stage 3, after Blaney finished second in stage 2, he lost 5 spots on pit road. His pit crew man, they're lucky that Ryan Blaney is so fast and so good in lap traffic because their pit crew, for being so good, they are having a pit crew that is struggling. You would think Penske can recruit some of the best guys, which they probably do, but those guys are not executing for him, man. And then stage three, on lap 313, we saw the 8 and the 43. Well, I guess both get spun out, but it was because the 35 got into the 8 and spun the 8 out in the front stretch, and then the 43 had to lock up the brakes and he slid into him. We'll revisit that one because the 8 repaved the favor. On lap 16, we had pit stops, and that was another pit stops where the 12 lost another two spots. With that, 180 laps to go. Larson takes the lead on the restart, and then that was when Blaney was still in a good position though. This is where he was able to start reeling in the 5. The 5 was starting to really struggle at this part of the race. On lap 338, the 12 used the bumper on the 5 in turns 1 and 2, got the 5 up the racetrack, and they were a drag race entering turn 3 and 4, and then the 12 cleared the 5. And that was really it for Larson's day to win the race until near the end. Because then later on, with 56 to go, the 54 passed the 5 for second. But on lap 383, if I backtrack, the 88 spun out. I think he got help there. I did not see who hit him because it looked like someone hit him on the replay, but I didn't spend too much time on who hit him. And then back to 50, we had a restart there. The 12 took the lead on the restart. Then that was where the 54 passed the 5 for second with 56 to go, and then the 54 was able to slowly, and it was trying to reel in the 12. Lap traffic was really being a challenge for the 12. He was getting held up by the 7 of Suarez. He seemed like one of the hardest lap cars to pass. He was having trouble getting by the 6. And there were times where it's like, man, the 54 was like a little bit closer. He could have capitalized, but he just never got close enough to make the move. But with 24 laps to go, the driver that won the last Cup Series race spun out and chased Elliott. And that then led to our 2 pit stops. And that's where then the 54 Ty Gibbs, the 77 of Carson Oswald, the 19 of Chase Briscoe, the 11 of Denny Hamlin, and the 45 of Tyler Reddick, they all chose to stay out. The only cars that pitted that were notable were the 5 and the 12. The 5 took 2 right side tires and the 12 took 4. And around this time, we ran so many laps that the 12 ended up lapping up to like 14th place. So there was not many. I think there was only 13 cars on the lead lap, I believe. So a lot of cars took the wave around, and then they pitted. But then with 15 to go, the 54 took the lead on older tires. So the older tires, we saw the 45 go 3 wide. He got up to second, and then dropped down to the bottom. And then I was like, he's on the bottom. His car just was not as good enough. That good on the bottom on older tires. And then Blaney, who restarted 7th, was able to get up there in a second. And we saw Blaney and Gibbs, and then here came Kyle Larson. It was in a 3-way battle. I was like, man, if Blaney clears the 54, he is gone. But the 54 was in the high line, which we talked about a little bit earlier. It seemed like the high line was the dominant lane near the end of the race, or at least stage 3. Everyone was running up towards the high line in stage 3. So when the 54 was on older tires, he was still good enough because you're not turning the wheel as much in the high line. And the 12, who was on the bottom, and he said post-race there was a clumps of rubber on the bottom lane, so your car couldn't grip up as well because that rubber could affect the car. But Blaney was still staying side by side with the 12. And then I believe it was on lap 5 or 6. He had a bad turn 3 and 4, he said, and then he went into turn 1 and 2 and washed up in front of the 54 and killed his momentum. I thought, coming to 4 laps to go there, the 54 was going to run away with it. But we had a caution, and that caution then was for the 8 guys payback on the 35. And the funniest thing about this is people are like, oh my gosh, the 8 car of Kyle Busch is going to cost the 54 the win. Kyle Busch, the guy that replaced Kyle Busch at Gibbs Racing was Ty Gibbs. And we all know that, the way that whole thing transpired in 2022 didn't go that great for Kyle Busch. And I think he still has a bit of a beef with Gibbs Racing over that. And he got his payback. I don't know if I don't know though. Let me slow down a little bit. I don't know though if Kyle Busch knew that Ty Gibbs was leading. I just think he wanted to get back, and he chose to do it. He didn't give Riley Herbst a break there. But then we had a restart, overtime restart, and like we talked about near the end, or when we talked about with Ty Gibbs, Blaney was on the bottom. The high line on the restarts is always the preferred line. You always get the better launch there for some reason. But Blaney, on newer tires like we talked about, was able to kind of stay side by side with Gibbs there, those final 2 laps. But Gibbs, still, on the high line, was able to create that momentum on the exit. Blaney was really good driving in. He would have that lead entering the turns, but then Gibbs on the outside. But Blaney was still side by side, using that side draft. And then coming, the final lap, Blaney said that he didn't have that good of a turns 1 and 2. Kind of, washed up a little bit. That killed his momentum there. But still was able to stay side by side. And then he said he had incredible turns 3 and 4. He said he could have just gassed it up and drove into the 54 into the wall, but he wasn't going to do that for a win like that. Blaney actually got sideways coming to the finish line. Ty Gibbs won by half a car. That was a spectacular finish. Yeah, man. What a finish, dude. Ty Gibbs, the 2022 champion in the NASCAR O'Reilly Series, getting his first win. This Bristol race I thought was really, really, really good. Like we talked about. I didn't feel like stage 1 was like, ooh, this is going to be like your typical next-gen Bristol. Not a lot of wear, bottom dominant. But the more laps we ran, the more tire wear. It really, there was 3 wide, 2 wide racing, multi-lane racing. Cars were really on edge. You would see the car slide. We were running the short track package at Bristol. Ever since 2022, we've been running the intermediate package that has more downforce. So we ran a lesser downforce package. We also have more horsepower too. So I think the onboard camera shots, these guys were really working the wheel. It was not just an easy peasy, hey, there was a lot of this going on, man. So it was awesome to see. Yeah, man. So let's get into our finishing order. Oh, yeah. Ty Gibbs' win at Bristol was the second closest margin of victory at Bristol since April 1991. The margin of victory was 0.055. Wow, so about, not even like a quarter, a half a tenth he won. Half a car it really was. It was an awesome finish. It was a great finish. To what I thought, like I already said a million times, was a great race. All right, we're all over the place as we always are. We're also repeating ourselves a lot, which we do that here a lot here on the Rolling the Bomb podcast. But I like it sometimes. It makes, I guess, our podcasts or me unique. I always like to repeat myself. Ty Gibbs finishes first, led the final 25 laps. Ryan Blaney, fastest car, led the second most laps, led 190 laps. I know we can probably talk and say, oh, should Ryan Blaney, should he have stayed out? He probably wouldn't have won the race if he stayed out, right? Because his car was better than Gibbs, right? He would have stayed high and just done the exact same thing. Probably he would have won. But also, he might have still won the race um, if he had those final 4 laps play out. Not exactly sure. But it was, you can't really hate it. Blaney, I believe, is now still second in the points. About 60-something, 61, 62 points back. So, another good points day. Third, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson led 284 laps. He was dominant. Won both stages, got a lot of points. And it was looking like this was going to be another one of those Larson days where he just straight dominates at these Bristol races. But he just wasn't as good as Blaney. And I'm still saying, guys, we're coming up on May. We're coming up on a year where Larson hasn't won a race in a year. And we're going to a track where he got his last Cup Series win at. So we'll see, man. I'm not acting like it's doom and gloom, and because Larson hasn't won a race, it's terrible because he won a championship. But I do feel like the championship allowed us to overlook the fact that Larson has not won, when this is the guy that we consider the best driver in the Cup Series. I mean, I don't know who he is right now. I would still say that Tyler Reddick is the guy off just wins. Winning is where we look at success, I feel like, now in this sport. Winning is also probably still the most important thing, because we have now 15 points you earn. You used to be 40 points you earn. Now add 15 more onto that when you win a race now than last year when you win a race. So winning is still the most important thing to do now. It's not just top 5 finishes and top 10 finishes, because the points are so valuable for winning now. Fourth was Tyler Reddick. He made a great move at the end there. 3 wide, but he was on older tires like Gibbs, and he didn't have the preferred line. But still, Danny Hamlin said that the weakness that the 45 has is the short track package, or him on short tracks. Today he proved that, hey, that might be getting better. Fifth was Chase Briscoe. Solid day for him. Not much to say. Very quiet, but got it done. Todd Gillen finishes 6th. We talked about he did that 2-tire stop, middle-ish of stage 3 there, and got him up there in that top 5. And he kept it up there, man. I'm not sure if it's, Penske was good. Brian Blaney, I know that Penske has an alliance with Bristol Motorsports. Not sure if that's a part in why Gillen ran so good here. But for that finish for Todd Gillen, that is amazing for that team. That's got to feel really good coming off that Easter break. 7th, Joe Nagano. Another quiet top 10. Ran in the top 5 some bit. Ryan Preece coming home 8th. Another good day. Another quiet day, right? 9th, Denny Hamlin was one of the cars that stayed out. He was 4th on that restart at 15 to go. He fell back like a rock. I think he fell back to 13th. Was able to get a couple more spots here. Finished 9th. He was one of their fastest. I thought he was one of the best cars in the long run after stage 2. He got there at 3rd, but I don't know. His car was hit or miss. Like, he could not restart that well. And he never really, that long run speed never showed back up, it looked like to me. But a top 10 is a top 10. 10th, Carson Osler, another guy who was up there in the top 5, staying out on old tires and came home 10th. Another fast day for him. Another top 10 for Osler. But a loss, good rebound from Martinsville, coming home 11th. That's good for the points standing. Daniel Suarez came home 12th. This is a good run for Daniel Suarez. A guy that was battling, I think he was a lap down at one time, he got his lap back over Kyle Larson there. We already talked about and heard the whole stuff about, I think Julia Piquet said, it's nice to be given attention to. I'm paraphrasing there, but, there's been a lot of reports how, Trackhouse just didn't care enough to give Suarez the time and help Suarez bring in fast race cars. And Suarez really struggled, last year. And here, he outran all of his former teammates at Trackhouse to finish 12th. Suarez, I think, is starting to have a little bit of a revive. I think if he keeps running these, if he runs this well, or is Spire going to just let Suarez go and bring in Kyle Busch as what people, have reported or not really reported, but that could be a possibility, because I don't think the way Kyle Busch is running, he wants to stay at RCR, and sound like Spire would love to have Kyle Busch. I'm not sure. We'll see, but impressive and great run for Daniel Suarez. 13th, Chris Buescher. 14th, Brad Keselowski. 15th, A.J. Allmendinger finishes 15th. This is a guy that is racing for a team that has zero manufacturer support because of the deal that Carling has with Ram and the trucks. Chevy has shut off all their support. They no longer have a alliance with RCR, man. I did talk to A.J. Allmendinger about this, and I kind of asked him how hard it is, and he says it's very hard because when they're not good at qualifying practice, they have no really any resources to go and look to see how other guys are running. So definitely it's hard, but a track this tough, that's a great run for A.J. Allmendinger. Jeez. Austin Cindric 16th, 17th Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 18th Austin Dillon, 19th Zane Smith, 20th Ross Chastain, 21st Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst was in the top 5 in stage 1, and then he was a lap down. And he, of course, he got spun by Kyle Busch at the end. Chase Elliott finishes 22nd. It just shows you how quick this sport can change. Chase Elliott wins at Martinsville. The next week he spins out and finishes 22nd. Crazy. Eric Jones, 23rd. 24th, Michael McDowell. Kyle Busch, 25th. Noah Gragson, 26th. Christopher Bell, we already kind of talked about him. He was a guy that was really fast in stage 1, finished 3rd, and then hit the wall, had a speeding penalty, and then his day went downhill. Cole Custer, 28th. 29th, Ty Dillon. 30th, William Byron. I'm not sure how many laps William Byron was down today. He was a couple laps down. One time he was 3 laps down. They just totally missed it. They just absolutely missed it. They started in the back because of a steering issue. They replaced, I think, the steering, power steering in their car, I believe it was. Started in the back, and yeah, they were still slow. And they didn't qualify that well anyway, but yeah, they really missed it. Just rare for a Hendrick team to miss it this bad and be just slow. Cody Ware, 31st. 32nd, Josh Berry. 33rd, Kyle Zilch. 34th, Shane Van Gisbergen. 35th, John Hernandez. 36th, Chad Fincham. And 37th, Alex Bowman. All right, point standings from this race. No. Reddick has 100. He's 210 points above the cut line to 16th. Blaney is plus 148. Hamlin is a plus 124. Gibbs is plus 105. Elliott is plus 88. Larson plus 84. Byron plus 69. Wallace plus 60. Bell plus 55. Chris Buescher is plus 54. Brad Keselowski plus 53. Joey Logano plus 42. Carson Hocevar plus 33. Ryan Preece plus 33. Daniel Suarez is plus 16. In the playoffs, Shane Van Gisbergen right now has the final spot by 1 point. 16th spot. Chase Briscoe, who was like 30th in the points, is now only 1 point back from 16th. Cindric is minus 5 back from 16th, and Michael McDowell is minus 6 back from 16th. Those points are going to fluctuate. Really, Gibbs coming out in 4th in the point standings. He's about what looks like to be 19 points back from Hamlin for 3rd. And we've talked about how, I guess, when NASCAR has done their simulation test, being in the top 3 is where you want to be on points if you want to have the chance to win this championship. Yeah, man. Really, really great race. Really enjoyed it. If I put this race in a Rollie rate, I'm going to give it. I mean, it's not going to get, on the Jeff Luck poll, it's probably going to get somewhere in the 70s. But I would give it a solid. I really enjoyed this race. I would give it like 8.6. Like, I thought, just to see multi-groove racing, man, and cars on edge, tire wear, this new Goodyear tire. Yeah, this is a good package. Now, we'll see when they go back in the fall if the tire wear is still the same. Do we get that crazy tire fall off where the tires are just shredding so quickly, and they can only last 40 laps. We'll see if it's a temperature thing still a part of it, or they got this tire figured out where it'll do this in the fall. Because I don't know, this is a good race, man. Now, the crowd was not that great, and I don't know what it is with Bristol in the spring. This the fans, there's no sports going on, no Tennessee sports. The Masters was on, and I guess Tennessee is near Georgia-ish, so I don't know, that play a factor in why there wasn't as many fans there. But the spring Bristol race has never done that great since. Ever since they stopped selling that race out, the attendance has slowly declined, and now we probably are in the same people. It's probably been this type of crowd since 2017, 2018. I mean, even worse than pretty bad crowds for the spring Bristol race, but the fall still does its thing. But I think those fans that were there, I think they saw a good race. I hope they left that track satisfied. All right, now finish off the podcast. The O'Reilly Series race, Kyle Zillage got the win. Only led, I think, the final 24 laps because Larson dominated the race, led 230 laps. But he had a late race caution. The 88 stayed out. Larson was on, I believe, newer-ish. I think he was on 4 new tires. I think it was, I have to check. Yeah, he was on 4 newer tires, I believe. And just couldn't pass the 88 when the 88 was on the high line, just like yesterday, just like today, excuse me. The high line was the preferred line. And no matter how good you were on the bottom, that high line just gets so much momentum exiting the turn. So it was just really a challenging thing there for anyone that was trying to pass someone on the bottom. That the guy they were trying to pass was up top. But cool win for Zillage. Larson finishes second. Brent Cruz, another guy up there, he's getting better, man. That young, he's 18 years old, finishing third. Justin Allgaier finished fourth. Fifth was Carson Quapple. Sixth, Shannon Creed. Seventh, William Swalch. Eighth, Corey Day. Ninth, Parker Retzlaff. 10th, Taylor Gray. 11th, Ryan Sieg. 12th, Jesse Love. 13th, Sammy Smith. 14th, Ron Chuckaruth. 15th, Jeremy Clemens. Anyway, other notable ones, not Zilch. Larson won both stages. I might have said Zilch was the 88. He was the 1 car. Larson was the 88. I know last year Zilch was in the 88. All those numbers kind of throw me off at times. But I thought that it was a solid race. Normal, O'Reilly Series race, night race, tire wear, multiple grooves. We saw a scary fire for that 91 car of Mason Maggio. I think it was Mason Maggio, his last name. Scary fire. And he said the oil pressure, all he saw was it went 0, and then boom, big fire coming out. Yeah, he was able to park it in the middle of in the infield and get out there quickly. He had some help there from other crew members, so luckily he was okay, but that was a scary, scary fire. And then Truck Series race was won by Christopher Bell. Big win there for Christopher Bell to get a win for Hallmark Friesen Racing. Stuart Friesen, one of the owners, drives a 52 truck. Now they have 2 trucks now, and Bell is racing for that team. Bell actually racing the 52 truck for Stuart Friesen when Stuart Friesen was recovering from injuries from a scary dirt track crash last year. Big win by Bell. Was able to hold off. He actually passed the 91 X's there late. But then also Chandler Smith was up there in the end, but Chandler had nothing for him. There was a big incident, though, between I guess it would have been the 1 truck of Corey Heim and the 91 truck of Eckes. They were racing hard on a restart. I think it was stage 3. And the 1 used the bumper in 91 in turns 1 and 2, and then looked like the 91 was going to then do it back to him, but when he was trying to get under the 1 truck entering turn 3, he just didn't clear when he was trying to get behind him, I should say, and he clipped the 1. The 1 went to the outside wall pretty hard there, and collected a couple other trucks, collected the 11 truck of Kane Honeycutt, ending Kane Honeycutt's day. Yeah, Kenny Honeycutt was mad about it. Heim actually wasn't that mad about it because he knew it was a misjudgment, but those two were racing hard. They had some history. Back, I think it was like 2 years ago, or I think it was 2 years ago. They were racing IRP, Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis, and at the time, Exodus was racing the 19 truck for Bill McIntyre Racing. He got Corey Heim into the wall, and that really hurt Corey Heim's day in that race. So they have some history, but it seemed like they both agreed, both sides said this was a miscommunication. Racing hard. The one used the bumper in the 91. I think the 91 was going to get back behind the one and do the same thing, but he misjudged and clipped him. But luckily everyone was okay. Christopher Bell wins, second Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith now has I believe, a 1-point lead over Kenny Honeycutt for the points leading the Craftsman Truck Series race. After that DQ for Chandler Smith, gets another solid day, man. Third, Giovanni Ruggiero. Fourth, Ross Chastain. Fifth, Chris Eckes. Sixth, Jake Garcia. Seventh, Dawson Cram. Eighth, Kyle Busch was in the lead. And he was on over tires, but then his truck just shut off because he was trying to save fuel. Couldn't get it fired up. And if you can't, there's a rule, if you can't maintain pit road speed, then you lose the right to the lead, and you'll end up, restarting wherever you pick back up to minimum speed. So that killed Kyle Busch's day to have a chance to win the race. Carson Hocevar finished 9th, 10th, Brendan Queen, 11th, Ben Rhodes, 12th, Daniel Hemrick, 13th, Tyler Ingram, 14th, Chase Briscoe, and 15th, Justin Haley. Christian Eckes won stage 1, and the 99 Ben Rhodes won stage 2. Good, solid racing. I just kind of flew by, as always, through my race reviews from the Craftsman Truck Series and the LRIS Series. Overall, guys, that is a wrap. Hopefully you enjoyed my Cup Series review. I'm not sure you're still watching after this one, but it means the world, guys, for you guys to choose to watch these podcasts. Stay tuned to my normal content, short-form content from this weekend, from this podcast. We have Kansas next weekend. I saw that Steve O'Donnell, president of NASCAR, is going to be on Door Bumper Clear, so I assume we're going to get some good content from that one. Cannot wait for that. Overall, as always, as I repeat myself again, thanks for watching. Means the world. Goodbye. Have a good week.